Across the Spider-Verse was released, and it exceeded the expectations laid upon it, bettered itself from the previous installment in the series, and has been proclaimed by many as the best Spider-Man film, including live action, the best comic book film, including animated and live action, and is basically heralded as a rare gem. But it ain't that rare. There's been a few other films that have exceeded expectations with immaculate scripts, incredible acting, amazing visuals. What are these movies doing, and what is it about them that is so great, and what are they actually getting right? And what can Hollywood learn from this lesson in today's episode? Hit it, Abby.
Welcome to the Sean and Geek, the Sean Geek and Fast Fret podcast. Done.
Well done. Okay, we're going to use that.
Which could be a segue to, one of my favorite movies of this year, The Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, let's dip into that. I think I got to bring up a wiki page on it because
that movie had like elements of what we've just been talking about, like true understanding of, I think, the material.
I always forget the freaking title of the second one. Is it
Into the Spider-Verse?
Is it Into the Spider-Verse?
Or Across the Spider-Verse?
Or is it Cross? Same thing with all the Spider-Man, the other Spider-Man movies. Like I don't, I can never remember what any of the three are called. It's like Home or Far From, Away From Home.
Far From Home, No Way Home.
Yeah, like which one? Like which one's which? Like it always confused me. Like I didn't, I don't know.
I just know the last one is No Way Home because he never got back to the original. And then the second one is Far Away From Home because he's not at home right? Because they were in a field trip.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So wait. So first one was Homecoming.
First Homecoming.
And then Far From Home.
Far Away From Home, something like that is the second one because it happened in Europe. And then the last one is No Way Home. Yeah.
They could have titled those better. That was the one, the one thing. So it's being hailed, the Spider-Verse movie 2 is being hailed as possibly the best comic book movie of all time. It's actually on a lot of people's lists, like Kevin Smith and people like that. Like they're all like, this is the best superhero movie of all time, period. Hands down. How did you feel?
I felt the same. Like, I think I was like, I watched it and I was just like I said, true understanding of the material, of the character, and what Spider-Man is all about, right? It had the little panels, which makes me want to rewatch the movie. Like, I don't know, I could watch it probably 20 times because I'm like, okay, let me capture this. It's eye candy because there's just like so much to see, so many references.
Different animation styles.
Yeah, so it's beautiful. The Gwen sequence has a different animation style from the Miles.
Yep.
It checks all the boxes without being too out there. And the story about Spider-Man, which is a story about a lot of superheroes, the choices, it's always about a choice, and it's a kid making choices.
Yeah, it's not an adult.
That's what it is. It's a kid trying to be a kid, but having to make difficult choices.
Yes.
And
that transition into adulthood from being a kid.
Yeah. And I thought that was like just so nicely done in this movie. The interactions with each other, the Spider-Man to each other, to the parents to child, mentor to you know,
You understood the
apprentice.
parents, but you also understood the kids. It was well told in that manner because as a parent myself, I'm yeah,
I think
I
that's what I
feel
told
you.
you.
Yeah, that like I feel you, but then I'm still a kid at heart, so I can
Yeah.
understand his frustration
Yeah.
with
They were trying to convince them, don't change the timeline, don't do this. But like, why? I can't understand that. I can't wrap my head around,
yeah,
letting my uncle or letting
yeah,
someone
letting
die.
somebody
Why?
die like for what? Like what is that going to solve? Like why can't I save someone's life? You're telling
Hmm.
me not to
Hmm.
save a life, like, and you're calling yourself a hero, like,
But then, like,
totally
your
understand
choice
that.
makes you selfish because, the consequences to the multiverse or whatever, right? And it's just like,
Selfish and selfless at the same time because
exactly.
you're not saving them for you. Well, you are in a way, but
It only affects you, doesn't affect the others,
yeah,
you know, um, but it's just so clever that to
yeah,
me was just like, it was so good. The people that hate it just hate that it ended where it ended. But
yeah,
like, I think the overall consensus about this movie is like it makes you feel. I don't know
yes.
anyone that like walked out there and I was like, nah, it's all right, or it's not a good movie because it's just like you're a monster if you don't feel anything from it.
I will tell you, Ellie was pissed.
That it ended
Yes, but I don't know. But she stood up. She was all, kind of getting
because she
all.
was still invested.
Yeah, she was so yeah.
I'm curious to see. I'm curious to hear what's their take on it
Oh, they
because
loved
I'm
it.
sure it's just like fun.
Well,
It's
that's
fun
the
and
thing. Like,
colorful.
I, the story is complex enough, and it's dealing with a lot of adult stuff. And by adult, I don't mean language or whatever, but I mean things that as
The
adult that we
decisions,
have
yeah.
to, yeah, the decisions we have to work through and stuff.
Yeah,
But
like the
it,
cop having to arrest his own daughter because
yeah,
that's the law.
yeah. But I think stuff like that may have gone over their head. But I think too that the dialogue in it is real enough and the way
And
it's
it's simple enough.
acted,
It's
yeah,
not complicated.
yeah. But there's layers to it for us as
Yeah.
adults, but it's still because do you remember as a child when you read a comic book, like when you're reading comic books for the first time and you're really really young and you're reading the story, oh, I love this story, I love this story, and
Hmm.
then you go back maybe 10 years later and read the same story and you're like, oh, I didn't get three-quarters
Yeah.
of this stuff, but you
Yeah.
enjoyed it as a kid, but it's got rereadability because there's so many layers to what's happening
Yes.
that it's good for all ages. Like that's just great writing,
Right.
like flat out.
Which is that's what I loved about it. And there's like apart from the dramatic moments, like the comedy, the references, Peter parked car, like it's just like so hilarious. Like
Yep.
Spider-Man India, I don't think I even knew it existed, or is that even real, or is that even like for the movies?
I don't
I don't know, but
know.
it's so fun that like I just want to watch. I think it is because it did have the cover and the issue.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I have no idea, but I'm curious about it now.
right,
But
right. But
like,
it's just like, oh, it's so creative. They have
yeah,
their own metropolis.
yeah. I can't like what I know. One of the things that I was thinking while I'm watching it, and then for like the weeks and weeks afterwards, I couldn't stop thinking about this movie to the point that I was like, I kind of wanted to sneak out and go watch it again. It was that how do you write something that complex and still tick every box? Because when something's that complicated, you're going to F something up in the writing.
Right.
There's
But
going to be a
it's so
loophole you
perfect.
miss. But yeah,
It's
it is
so
so
perfect.
perfect.
It starts off, you get the strong female characters.
Oh, I'm a big
Like
fan of that.
the Gwen like intro, it just sets the
Oh
tone
man,
to it.
I
And
didn't
then
expect that too. I thought it was going to be a Miles story.
yeah, but it
But
was just
it was
like
refreshing that it was that they no we were going to tell both of their stories.
mhm, mhm. And the way that they differentiated the animation, I was just like,
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
You know, when the dad found out, I'm like, you just see like the colors just started to change, and I was like, oh man, like if you didn't feel sad, this is your cue. It's a sad scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just so it I don't know, it was just like it's a perfect movie. But I guess it's like they took 5 years to make it, you
Hmm.
know.
Yep.
They spent time,
They spend time.
but it's mind-blowing that it's from Sony, which is a company that had failed
Yeah.
miserably in bringing,
It's it's
so
like it's
many
like DC with their
superhero.
animated, right? It's like who
Yeah,
can get the
yeah,
animation right? But
yeah.
do you think they did 9 edits on that thing? I was talking
I
about
don't know. Yeah, yeah,
the ninth
yeah,
edit rule before. It's
yeah,
like obviously they did. Like,
yeah.
scripts
Someone
not.
read this like a million
Yeah,
times and thought this through.
it's not tight
It,
enough.
they
Let's
had
go
a good
again.
cast, really amazing cast. Um,
I forgot the cast. Like when I was watching it, I didn't. I think, oh, that's so and so. Oh, I didn't care.
Register.
I'm in the movie. It didn't matter because sometimes when you watch an animated movie, it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely Brad Pitt or that's definitely Beyonce. Like it's obvious and it's
Not
takes you out of the story.
exactly.
None
Yeah,
of these actors took me out of the story. None.
yeah.
I was like,
But it just worked.
so I had to go back later and go, these
Who
are
are they
like, who
again?
is that? What? Like Oscar Isaac? I'm like, no
Yeah, Haley
idea.
Steinfeld, like Daniel
Yeah.
Kaluuya,
It's like
Mahershala Ali.
Jason Schwartzman. It's like, what? Really?
Oh, okay, the Spot, like
Yes.
that was a clever villain to do
That
multiverse
that
with.
was the
I was
right
just like,
choice.
and at first I was like, where is this like just a side villain? And then I was like, okay, the handling in this with this character is so good.
It was so
Again, you don't
silly, but
right. Again,
dangerous at the same
you don't
time.
when I guess sometimes the I don't know. I'm just assuming because of the quality of the work. I think sometimes the writers just read one comic book arc
Hmm.
and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know everything I know about this."
Hmm.
But sometimes you just need you can read like more than one,
Yeah.
to understand what this character is all about. Pick one of your favorites, combine them all, and then you can have like a better understanding. You can maybe write your own story. You don't have to copy, you can
Yeah.
copy a storyline and adapt it, but like sometimes you maybe read like 10 different like versions of Spot and then maybe okay, this villain is this, it's zany, but like how about if I do this? Maybe it'll work, maybe it'll be a big villain.
I was trying to think back on this. I remember the Spot in the comic books, but I'm also wondering, was he not in? Did Spot not show up in like
Daredevil.
the original like Spider-Man cartoon from like was it the 90s or whatever? Was he
I
in
honestly
there?
don't remember because I just remember it's like always like like holes in the wall and like hands coming out of it. That's mainly what it's
Yeah,
used for, the
yeah,
spots, right?
yeah,
Like that's first scene of him, that's what I remember him as.
yeah.
I don't remember it being used as like, well, how about I try to like
Oh, he was never serious, like never a
no,
serious
no, that
villain.
was it.
But but you think about it, the way they handled him is like, well, yeah, of course he's a serious villain, and here's why.
Anyone can be serious.
Yeah, but it's the power that's dangerous. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
him as much as the power. It's like giving a lot of power to, I don't know, what's that guy's name? He's like the Superman of Marvel or whatever. Long blonde hair, he's gold and blue, kind of recent creation. But he was kind of like dumb and not like really smart, and it's like he had all this power, but he didn't have the wisdom to actually wield it properly. And
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah, yeah.
oh God, what the hell? Like I'm thinking his name is Superior or
The one with the blue cape is
Blue Cape, yeah.
because I have an image in mind, but I'm just like, who is this?
I think Mark Miller created him too. sort of like an anti-Superman sort of thing. But anyway, whatever. Like, but sometimes you would have these, and they had lots of Marvel Legends. Like he was a Build-A-Figure or something. But anyway, but like sometimes like if you've got power and you can't wield it properly, it's like the show on Prime. Oh my God, what's this escaping me? The Boys. Like it's you got power, but you don't know what to do with it. Like, so what are you going to do with it? So he was kind of one of those characters where he's got this spot power, and he's not very dexterous. He's got a little paunch. Like he's not like you can't just give power to somebody and then all of a sudden they're good with it. Like I did like that aspect, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But even all the there's so many Spider-Men in this movie.
I thought that was going to be too much, but it actually worked.
It worked. And each one of them, even the ones that you just saw briefly, had a personality. Like Spider-Woman just drove around with her bike and had a few conversations, but there's a personality. Spider-Punk, just like cool, great. And even the other ones in the background, it's just like I just want to rewatch that scene
I'm
so
just
many
looking
times.
here. They had Lego Spider-Man too. It's like what? It's just so. But why wouldn't there be?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't there be? There was the one who had the big muscles and stuff. Kind of was that making fun of like oh my God, the guy who created Deadpool. Everything had pockets, pouches and stuff.
Yeah, and just like different costumes, the different there's just so many reference there in the background. Like I can't remember them now.
Like some of them were from video games. Like they're saying Insomniac Spider-Man.
The Sony Spider-Man.
Yeah,
And I am terrible at this because Alex is like, well, if you notice the hands of this and I'm like, I am so bad at those details because he was like, well, some of them the blue cups up here up to here, and I was like, I don't know, they look like it's blue and red.
Yeah.
It's a Spider-Man suit, but I guess there's like differences in that. But just super creative and just like the driving force between the Miguel O'Hara and was just like it was so clear and why he wanted that to stop and even where it ended, you're just like shit, like what's happening? What's gonna happen here?
Did you ever read Spider-Man 2099?
No. I didn't read it.
It's good.
But I want to read it now because of that, right?
Do you know who Peter David is?
No.
He's an amazing writer. Like he was a top Marvel writer for a long time, but he's also a guy who writes Star Trek novels as well.
Okay.
Like those kind of little, I don't know, like 50,000 word. He's written a ton of those, and he also has written a fair chunk of movie adaptations. So when the first Spider-Man came out, he wrote the novelization, which was really good. So he's a very quick writer, but he did like a 10-year run on Incredible Hulk that has never been bested in my opinion. I have I collected all his Incredible Hulks, and he's the guy that created not Old Man Hulk, Maestro. Like the old version of the Hulk with the beard, like that was a Peter David creation. He also had a run, I think, on She-Hulk that was good. And he's an amazing writer. Like I own a lot of his stuff. It's in my.
So he did 2099.
But yeah,
or he wrote.
Yeah, so when 2099 came out, I think they were kind of like, let's get our superstars working, because it was like kind of like when the Ultimates, like they created Ultimate Spider-Man and all that stuff. They brought in the big hitters, and they did the same thing with 2099, but this was way before. So they said, okay, we need a Punisher, we need Spider-Man because it's Spider-Man, right? And then they had a really interesting concept for Doom. And then what else did they had? They had Ravage written by Stan Lee. Stan Lee came back to write one of them, one of the titles.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, I think those were the 4 big titles. But the thought was, oh, it's just going to be Peter Parker in the future. It's just going to be Doctor Doom in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be Frank Castle. Like, they thought it was just going to be like no different. They're just in the future, right? But
Yeah.
Peter David, who's a good sci-fi writer, said, no. This isn't Peter Parker at all. He created Miguel O'Hara, made him completely different, like the power set's different. He's not a nerd. He's not the kid that gets beat up in school. No, he flipped everything. The only thing was that he had spider powers that were more like spider powers than Spider-Man's powers were. He flipped everything.
I like that, and that's something that the movie highlighted too.
Yeah.
There's many different versions of Spider-Man, but there are key moments in their lives, key events that like, oh, I guess that does happen, quite similarly, and some sort of variation. And I was just like, that's just so smart.
Yeah.
This is so smart. And just to highlight that, and again, that shows that you understand you've read enough Spider-Man that you're able to include Spider-Rex in it, and all like old black suit, I don't know, like the animated series, and to reference, like to have anything, the pointing scene, obviously.
Yeah. Oh God, yes.
To have everything there, it was just like, I don't know how they're gonna end it and wrap
I'm
it.
gonna lend you. I do have all the issues of Spider-Man 2099. I have the complete run, but I think I might also have that in trade paperback. It is worth reading because I was such a big fan, and the run's like complete, like. But I mean, he came back again later, like in comics and stuff. But for me, it was like, okay, you're done. You finished the run. It's good.
Yeah.
You don't need to go further. You did everything you needed to do. But I think if you read that and revisit the movie, I think there's going to be more. You're going to get more out of it. I got more because I got way more out of it. And it's like, then the first thing I wanted to do when I got home was reread the whole thing. Like.
And I think this is like one of those movies that, like, there's, like you said, there's so many layers. So every rewatch, you might get attracted to a different part of it, right? Today I'm feeling like a parent, or like today I'm feeling like the kid, I'm feeling more of this, and it's just like, it's just so smart. So that's why it's like, I agree. Like, it's probably one of the best like superhero adaptation, original story. Check, right? To me, that was always a big thing, because you can adapt this arc into the big screen.
Yeah, and literally adapt it.
Yeah, we're like, scene like panel for panel.
Yeah.
But like, to create a completely new story that just works in every. I'm trying to think what's the weak point in this movie, and I'm just like having a hard time. Like, I don't even know, like, if you can say like, oh, I didn't really like the music, but the music worked with the whole thing.
The music did work. I did enjoy the music. I mean, I was like, the kids were like, okay, Daddy, you got to find that one. You got to find that one. But you know what? Do you remember when the original Spider-Man came out? Like the original, like Tobey Maguire? That was basically a love letter to the comics, because they adapted storylines from the comics. They even recreated like covers from the comics in particular panels. And that was just, okay, here's everything that came before. We're going to take this, and weave a story out of it. So it wasn't a truly original creation. This movie felt like, no, we haven't done any of this shit before. It's Spider-Man, yes, and Spider-Man, and Spider-Man, and Spider-Man. And they did something new with it. Like that. Yeah. They don't do that.
But it's so
anymore.
Relatable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is like family, relationship related, and those are the conflicts, the major conflicts. It's not even like, oh, you're fighting this like big world threat, which is like, it's still a world threat because the world's gonna get destroyed.
Yeah.
But like, at the same time,
but it's his relationship with his dad. It's her relationship with her dad. Like, that's
relationship with their parents, relationship with each other. the betrayal of a friend, and you're feeling alone, and I'm just like,
Now I'm
oh,
making notes. It's like, okay, in my book I'm writing, I didn't have a relationship with a mom or dad. I did have them, but I think I need to expand on that. I think I need to bring
yeah,
it
it
back
makes you
around.
think. I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, and you just like relate. I'm like, oh yeah, I did decide on doing this when I was younger. I'm like, obviously, I'm not like, didn't save the world or anything, but like,
In
you can
another
relate it
dimension,
at
you did,
some
I'm
point.
sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You rebelled, or you went through your teenage phase where you feel like you're doing what you know is right, but may not be right, or
In another
maybe,
world, you were drawn by Rob Liefeld, and you had these big guns,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you know, you're like throwing around Mack trucks and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was just like so smart. Even just like the way they threw him in a different universe
Mm-hmm.
was just like because it's a different spider, and I was like, oh, so smart. It was
Mm-hmm.
so good.
I had so many ideas out of that film. It was ridiculous.
That's like I watched it and I was like, oh man, like you are gonna have like the time of your life watching this movie. And I had to mention like kids can watch it. It's been approved by
Yeah,
the
by the
comic
Comics Code
book.
Authority.
Yeah, I was like, okay,
That
it
was
has
pretty cool.
it had the stamp of approval, so bring your family, they can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's like this is did Sylvie like it?
Oh,
I
she loved it.
assume.
She was just beyond. Yeah, it was. There wasn't all four of us. We were all like raving,
Hmm.
coming out of
And
it.
that's always like I bet it's like a fun moment for the family because it's a movie that
Yes.
you all can watch, you can
Didn't
all
have to get
enjoy,
a
you can all talk
sitter,
about.
and
Yeah.
yeah, like we
But it's
actually.
just like you get to enjoy it with everyone.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's movies that like, oh, you're like, oh, I can't wait till the kids are old enough to watch this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you can
Oh yeah.
rewatch it with them, and it's fine. But to watch this one at this age, and then you can rewatch it when they're older, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it'll hit them differently.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know, but
They
it's
they did have a complaint. My kids did have a
mhm.
complaint. No Spider Ham and no
No Penny
Penny. Was that the one with the machine?
for the robot,
The robot, yeah, they really wanted, like, they really
but they're
glommed on.
coming back next.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. I'm having a hard time with. I've seen a lot of like phenomenal films lately, and it's like you start to want like you're seeing movies and like, oh, that's kind of boring. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Like there's a lot of Marvel films are like, it's okay. We've seen so many of these, and then we saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it was like, holy shit! Like, what did I just see? It was so original.
Yeah.
We see this film. We see Guardians of the Galaxy. We saw the Batman.
Hmm.
Like, and these are all not. They're not good films at all. They're great films.
Right, right.
And then, yeah, like I said, Guardians was great. It exceeded my
Hmm.
expectations. And then we saw the Barbie movie, which I think Sylvie's basically saying this is her favorite movie of all time.
Because it's just so
It
fun.
was so fucking smart.
Right. And it's like it's a movie that I did not expect to enjoy as much as I did.
Yep.
I thought it was going to be like, okay, it's going to have its own propaganda. We
Yeah.
could probably predict how this ends.
Hmm.
And to some extent you can, like, you're going through the movie, and you're like, okay, this can't end like this.
Yeah.
But like, but just the way they went about it,
But then
it's
I'm like,
like,
but like you've heard of the director before, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, why is she making this?
Yeah, like she is
I was like, there's something off about that. Like, how the hell is she going to work inside a studio? She's
mhm,
so not rebellious. I don't know if rebellious is the right word, but she sticks to her guns on everything she's done.
mhm, mhm,
She's that kind of director. Like, no, I have a vision. I'm doing my fucking shit. Like,
mhm.
leave me alone. I'm going to make my movie. And
Which
they
is
let
good
her
for
make
her.
this,
Yeah.
and no one like interfered.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. How the hell did this movie get made? I'm so
Because
shocked.
maybe because the marketing sold it very well
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
And their marketing, whoever did their marketing, Awesome.
Brilliant.
Because I think when they
Mhm.
released it, like I think you have that Barbie cutout thing in the theaters
Oh
that
yeah,
people
and
can, and
people
it was an
and everybody was
affair.
taking pictures
People
with it. Yeah.
people dressed up for
Hmm.
it, every pink outfit was bought,
I didn't have any
you know.
pink. I felt really bad. I was the only
Yeah,
one
and
not
like
in pink.
when you watch it and you're just like, why did I not dress up for this? Why didn't I
Mm.
join in on this?
We dressed up for
Um,
Star Wars when they re-released it in
yeah,
theaters, right?
yeah, but like I was just like, why didn't I not join in? But because I was just like thinking that it was going to be another, you know, um, in your face, like, feminist movie because the marketing
Yeah,
branded that.
yeah,
That was what was happening. I've seen her Little Women movie and it was very much like that, which is fine, but like I don't like to in your face things.
yeah, yeah. I can
Don't spell
understand
it
that.
out for me.
Yeah.
I like subtle like
By the way, this is the way you should
messaging.
think. Like when they do that, it's just okay. No, like
Yeah,
yeah, I
like any
understand. Yeah,
like when like one thing that turned me off with with the female Ghostbusters is because in the interview the movie didn't do very well critically and they're like, oh, what, you hate women because you
yeah.
didn't like this movie, and I hate those because I'm like, bad writing doesn't mean you hate the people
Yes,
in
yeah,
it.
exactly.
That doesn't match. And I hate when they use that. And so I was like, I would hate to for this movie to be like that. And because you lose the messaging when it's a movie like that, right? Like
When it's a
that's my
message, but they didn't have a story. There's the message
right.
is there, but they didn't put the story there. Like
Like what turned me off, honestly, personally, in like the She-Hulk series, it's like that first episode where she is like, I'm a woman, I endure so much more pain,
yeah,
than you. And I was like, you don't, that too in your face thing is a turn off for me.
yeah.
Nothing irritates me more than that because at some point it's true, but like to say it out loud kind of, I don't know, takes away from it. And
It
this movie did not do that at all.
so it's similarly if you go see one of those horror movies that are okay, we're a gore movie. We're going to show lots of gore and the most disgusting, repulsing, and then that's what you get out of the movie.
Yeah.
What about the
Or
story? Is there a story in there?
or a horror movie that's all jump scares.
Yeah,
Yes, I screamed because you just like,
yeah.
threw
You
us.
shot it. Interestingly,
Yeah. But like if there's no story, I can't say that it's a good movie.
yeah.
You scared me that one point. Sure, you get 1 point for that, but like I can't say that's a really good movie. But this one, like, it's just like the messaging, because it even goes both ways. You can't go extreme
Hmm.
feminist or extreme, patriarchy. And
Yeah.
um, and it's just like to me that was the clearest part of it, is that everything has to be in balance. But at the same time, it's the same as like the Spider-Verse where it had references to toys
Yep.
that we knew
Yep.
from before. And what the original, I know Barbie is like the bad rep with like, oh, it's like that's not how women look like.
Yep.
But the idea that like, oh, they're making them as doctors and all of these things, they have jobs and
Yep.
all of that. Like, I was like, oh, that was a neat like reminder that that's what it was about. So
Yes.
if people do get mad at like why put Barbie and why the imaging of women and whatever, well, that's not the point of that. It was a product of its time, and they have included like different sizes now and different
Yep.
races and whatever. And it evolves.
You don't have kids, right? So
Hmm.
the what I wanted to bring up was because there was I don't know if stereotype is the right thing, but if you watch like Barbie's had cartoons like cartoons movies or specials like throughout the years, right? And it's the lowest budget
Oh
animation,
yeah, I've
right?
seen
And
some.
right, but in the last I don't know if it maybe I guess the last 10 years or so, they've spun they've spun it in the animation stuff. And because I have two girls, of course I've seen every single one. Like I've seen every Trolls movie. I've seen every the Octonauts and Paw Patrol and the Wiggle. Like I've seen everything. I don't have a
Yeah.
choice, right?
Right.
So you try to find something to enjoy in all these various cartoons that you're watching with the kids, and every once in a while it's like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And what they did with Barbie is, like, in the last 10 years or so, they said, okay, enough of this fucking bad animation and stereotypical plot lines. I lost my dog. I found my dog. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to play. Like what they did is they flipped it and kind of made Barbie self-aware of herself, but also keyed the audience in and, hey, we're in on the joke sort of thing. To the shows, they're aware that they're toys and they can't hold drinks or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so they started
The
becoming,
drinks are empty.
yeah, well, they started becoming self-aware. And then there was another series where she's doing like a vlog, and they started addressing real problems and real things. And it wasn't like heavy,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like, I don't know, like teen suicide or anything crazy
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But they were addressing things that kids think about and stuff that parents, and they introduced her parents, and they started just doing a few little things of like, okay, we're aware of the Barbie stuff has got a bad reputation of being, you know, the perfect woman with the 36, 24, or 36 or whatever, like all that stuff. Like, they're like, okay. And they kind of flipped everything. And then they started putting out the different dolls with the different sizes, different ethnicities and all that sort of stuff. They like, so the cartoons over the last 10 years have been really good and I actually would sit down, and it wasn't when I was like, oh, okay, let's watch this again. No, I was like, I'm actually I have a vested interest now because this is actually smarter writing. So I don't know. Like, so when this movie came out, I'm like, I was worried that we were going to go back to the 80s, 90s dumbing down of the children. We're going to give them dumb animation, dumb writing, you know, whatever, maybe sexist or whatever.
Yeah.
I was worried it was going in that direction. But then I'm like, Margot Robbie doesn't make shit.
Right.
She's a very smart actor. She doesn't just do... She's not trying to be the pretty girl all the time. She did I, Tonya.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's like, what? Like, she's all about...
Smart with her projects. Yeah, she
very,
picks her projects well. But yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that. Like, I obviously have not kept up with like the
Barbie stuff.
Barbies, but like, well, I'm glad because like that's how you survive, right? Because if they had stuck to like the blonde Barbie image, they would not have survived. Like, there would, like, a new toy will come up and they would be shelved and they would go bankrupt and they would have nothing because that's, you know, it evolves through time. And people can go back and criticize the Barbies from whenever it was made. But that's the past. Like, the fact is that they move forward.
Yes, they move forward. Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Like Disney, like in their animation movies and stuff, they've learned because they've done some stuff that did not hold up at all, right?
Yeah.
The racist or whatever. But then I know people still criticize them for the things they've done, like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or, you know, whatever. And they're trying to take steps, and people are pushing back because, oh, you're being woke. But you can't just do the same old tropes that aren't appropriate anymore.
Right.
You got to do
but then
something
also,
different.
like, so my thing with those is like, well, just make new movies. You're perfectly capable of writing new. You wrote Encanto.
Oh my God.
You made like, you know, a whole world with Moana. Like, so you can create these stories. Why are we going back and redoing
back to the
these?
well.
Yeah, and these classics.
They're going to remake Moana? Why? What is
they're
wrong?
Remaking everything.
What is wrong with the Moana
things,
movie?
right?
The Moana movie is so fucking perfect.
Yeah.
What are you remaking here?
Yeah,
Why?
and so that's the thing that I think that's my biggest thing is like the classics are classics for a reason. You
Yeah.
don't go back to original Barbie doll and remake that right now and be like, oh, this is the
Yeah,
original,
yeah.
because it's not. It
Yeah.
can't be that. And so to copy that is like it's always going to be compared to the success of that first one.
Hmm.
Like to remake Aladdin, oh yeah, Jafar was forcing himself onto like a teenage girl. Yes, that's wrong, but like you can also enjoy that like movie in the eyes of a
Yeah.
child because like you won't pick up on
Yeah,
any
you're
of
not
those.
picking
It
up
was
all that
just like,
stuff.
a fantastic movie. And like Snow White, and those were books that were like written, like some of them have horrible endings, like the
Yes.
wolf eats Little Red Riding Hood, you know. But
If they're going to remake like any of the Disney movies, it it's almost like they should remake it based off the Grimm's fairy tale.
yeah, or
Don't
just
follow the Disney formula at
I think
all.
it's just like just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Like move forward
Or
from
find
there.
another there's another Grimm fairy tale they could do. There's a million of
Absolutely.
them, right?
Yeah. Even the ones that like, that didn't do so well, like Treasure Planet. It's a spin on
Yeah.
Treasure Island.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But that was a
and it didn't do as well, but like I enjoyed it. It
yeah,
was
it
a
was good.
spin. You've done enough. We don't need like five different versions of this
Yeah.
for, because one of the five sold like a million, made $1 million.
Yeah. Let's do another Pirates of the Caribbean again.
Like, but
Well,
make the
why?
main character, do it in whatever the current trend is, make them black or make them something, and like, just to be relevant. But like that's why it's not going to sell, because
Hmm.
yes, the idea is like, okay, it's called Snow White, but her skin is not as fair as snow, so that already doesn't work. But I understand you want to move it forward and
Yeah.
make it a different race and whatever, and feature different people. It's not seven dwarfs, seven people. But then what is the story now then?
It's
And so
yeah.
just to be, it's just like move past that, leave that story alone,
Mhm.
because it is it is the first movie of Disney.
And
Leave it as
the
is.
animation's just gorgeous in that movie too. It's
Yeah,
like
and to
what are
appreciate
you
that
going to
this is hand
improve?
drawn.
Yeah.
This is hand drawn. A lot of them are hand drawn, and they're fine. And you could say that, oh well, it's not, does it can't, it's not high rewatchability. But I'm like, so what? It made money at the time. It served its purpose.
Hmm.
It propelled you guys to become what you guys are now. There's no point in undoing and redoing it.
It's interesting too because with Snow White recalculated for inflation and stuff like that, that's a multi-billion-dollar movie
Mhm.
adjusted for inflation. You're going to do better than this movie?
And
How are
I
you
don't
going
know,
to
just
improve?
yeah,
Are
and
you going to
you're
make
just
more
trying to
money?
modernize them. You're just trying to modernize them, which it doesn't work for that material, because
No.
you're gonna make changes to the story that just is not capturing that movie. Like the newest like Peter Pan and Wendy movie.
I
Like
haven't
they
seen
made
it.
Wendy so woke that it's just so dry.
Mm.
There's many incarnations of Peter Pan, and I think Hook is one of my favorites just because Robin Williams. But there was one where like I can't remember now. It's like two kids, but like they made them well, and like it movies make sense when they're not trying so hard
Hmm.
to be relevant and to keep up with times.
So you did
And
like
there's
Hook?
I loved
Yeah.
Hook.
Okay. I
Like
was like,
Hook was a
you said that. I'm like,
no,
did you?
no,
Because
that was one of my favorites.
okay,
But like
it is
it
one of
was just
mine
like,
too. But they did
and
something different with that one.
yes, yes. It's not trying to redo the same story that we know. In fact, it's just referencing it and just
Yeah.
like reimagine what if like, he grew up and
Yes.
had
That's
kids
a
and
different
whatnot.
movie.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, that's clever, but it has the same elements as the old movie. But it's just like you can't keep doing it. And some of them might work with like Mulan. It's, it may work the same way, but like it doesn't work the same for everything.
No.
Because at some point they're just like Little Mermaid, like Lion King. Lion King is not even live action, but like you're just doing scene by scene,
Yeah. What's the point?
remakes of it, but it with duller colors, like
Yeah.
less expressive
Yep.
animals, and it's
Yeah.
just like it just doesn't work. So whether you
I
make
still
it
haven't seen
woke,
that.
I don't
I,
think
I've I've no interest.
I don't
The
think we're missing anything because I know the cartoon and the cartoon was like awesome. I think I'd still watch the cartoon right now and I'd be like, yeah, I'd sing
mhm,
along to the songs quite well,
yep.
and it just doesn't work the same way. So I don't know, like like you said, the recent movies that we've seen, people may say that, oh, Barbie's just like based on a toy, like all the movies are based on this. I'm like, but there's still also original movies like
Hmm.
Spider-Man, sure, based on like Spider-Man, the comic books, but this is an original movie
Yep.
and it actually stands out and it works.
So
So
that
people who,
actually that brings up an interesting thing, which I wanted to get your opinion on was so we've seen multiple Spider-Mans now, right?
hmm
We've had three different actors, well, actually four different actors,
hmm
because we had the 70s Spider-Man show
yeah,
there, right? Plus all the animated different series and stuff. If and then all these actors are getting old, right? They're getting older. They're going to be at the end of their contracts.
hmm
They've aged. What do you do? Because every time they brought like there was a new Spider-Man, go back to the origin, rewrite the origin, start at the beginning again. Are they? I feel they shouldn't start it over every time.
hmm
Like with Spider-Verse here, it's different. It's completely Miles
hmm
Morales is not the same Peter Parker. He's
right.
not. His name isn't even Peter Parker.
Absolutely. And it's something I like the Tom Holland introduction was like not bad too.
No, it was
His
very
first
good.
movie was just like he was just because for someone like a Spider-Man who had like enough intros, I don't need to see
It again.
I don't need to see him get bit by the spider.
Yeah,
It already happened.
yeah.
And in his first solo movie, he just existed, you know?
Yes, yes.
And that's fine. To me, that's like great. It's the same as the Matt Reeves Batman. I don't need to see the parents get shot in the
No,
alley because we
they
know
didn't
that.
do that, did they?
Make them
They
exist.
referenced
And
it, but that's all they did, right? I think.
yeah,
I think they should do that. Like so.
same thing with Spider-Man and Tom Holland Spider-Man. I think they just referenced that he was bit by a spider.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to see the whole thing
So
because
if they've done that because everyone's like, oh, you can't replace Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, you can't replace Chris Evans as Captain America. Yes, you can,
yeah,
as long as you don't go back to the beginning again.
yeah, and write it better.
Yeah, yeah, write it
Yeah,
better. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I don't know, like just write a more compelling story. Like think about it first
yeah,
before rolling out a new character.
yeah.
People have written like the reason Miles Morales exists and Miguel O'Hara. Someone just thought like I don't want to write Peter Parker's story. I'm gonna write a completely new
Hmm.
one,
Yeah,
and they just like
and it worked.
somewhat like you could say like Miguel O'Hara is not Peter Parker. Well, yes, he is not, but it made it work as
Hmm.
Spider-Man. It can still happen. You may not even need the key moments. You just need to be have the same powers and sell it well.
Yeah, there's no
So
bad characters. There's only bad writing,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And like, the people that like, say that like, oh, there's too many superhero movies or unoriginal movies. Um, you and I still read comic books and books and whatnot. What do they say? Like, there's only so many types of stories that you could tell.
Yep.
But the way you say it, the characters,
The
like
voice you
that's what makes it
use. Yeah,
different, right? The conflicts and the choices and whatnot can be different every time. And I think that's what we're looking for. It's just like, quality writing and
yeah,
just something different.
yeah. Because I mean,
And
everything, everywhere, all at once is a story
yeah,
about a mom and her daughter.
yeah,
You know what? There's a million stories out there about a mom and her daughter, but the way they told it, the way
yeah.
they showed their
The way they
interaction,
layered it,
yeah.
right? Like with the husband and the relationship with the grandpa and
And we're
if
going to
you
tell it in a super fantastical way.
yeah, if you really like simplify it, generational trauma is the story of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yep.
Encanto is generational trauma,
Hmm.
same as Turning Red, but like
Oh yeah, yeah,
different stories, three
yeah.
different stories, all original. Like, and that's fine. That to me, that's fine. And it's really exciting that, after a few series of like, our energy is like, we haven't been this excited, to be honest. Like I feel like, since Guardians, like we've just like perked up and we're like,
Hmm.
oh, there's like new movies.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, we've been talking about like the Marvel slump and a lot of people like right now with these new, better, like more original movies are realizing like, oh yeah, I guess this is a good movie. And,
Yeah.
you know, back then, like I've had friends who actually enjoyed Ant-Man like so much. And then I watched Spider-Verse with them and they're like, no, that movie's garbage because this is a good movie. People who are satisfied because, well, we're getting something, but then you're like, well, some people are doing more and going up, doing their homework and going above and beyond. So it's possible.
It's no different like when you collect like because I collected Captain America the comic book, right? I
Hmm.
collected it for a long time and then I just stopped.
Hmm.
The same, but then I can still come back to it later at some point.
Hmm.
The writing, I didn't like the writer. The writer wasn't very like it didn't work for me. And I did the same thing with Spider-Man. I collected Spider-Man from God. I can't remember what issue it was, but it was like sometime in the 80s or whatever. I was collecting it and then I stopped and then I came back later when the writing got good again. And we can do, we have the ability to do this with the movies.
Hmm.
We can just leave the movies at any time and then come back when they get good again. Like there's
Well,
no,
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like,
I'm not
Batman
going to
and
miss
Robin
anything.
for the longest time, it's Batman and Robin, Batman and Robin. And then someone was like, what if we make Robin grow up, turn him to Nightwing?
Yeah.
And and it's just like, oh, that's all it took, like to move him forward and create a new Robin, create like multiple of this. And it's just like, they make something different every time. And it's just like, oh, okay, okay, I can get back to that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or and I should lend this to you at some point. But when J. Michael Straczynski took over Spider-Man and he wrote it for like 5 years. Um, what he did is like, okay, enough Spider-Man in his freaking 20s. He's not in his
Hmm.
20s anymore. He hasn't been in his 20s for 30 years, but you're still playing him like he's 21 and can't pay the rent and, all this stuff. When he took over, it's like, no, he's in his freaking 30s. He's in love with his wife. There's no issues. They
Hmm.
have arguments, sure, but they're a solid couple. Why can't Spider-Man be happily married man? Well, why not?
Hmm.
So he went
Yeah.
he went in that direction. And it wasn't the Todd McFarlane where she was always dressed in a thong and whatever. Like they were happily married couple. They can talk to each
Hmm.
other. They're best friends. He went in that direction. Peter Parker is one of the smartest guys on the block. Why can't he get a fucking job? Why can't he
Yeah.
figure this out? Well,
Yeah.
the way he played it, he's married to Mary Jane. He's happy. She helps him get centered.
Hmm.
So now with that, he's more stable. He's able to get a steady job. He gets a steady job, and he's actually making money. He's not rich. I don't think they made him rich, but well, I think eventually they did. But like, why can't he have a steady job where he's not? Oh my God, I don't have enough money to buy the medication for Aunt May again.
Yeah.
Like he evolved them into his 30s as a married man with a stable job, and he's a successful superhero, and that's the way he went. And he made it interesting though. Well, but then when he quit the title, they set him back. You're no longer with Mary Jane. You lost your job. Your company folded. You're selling pictures to the Daily Bugle again. Newspapers don't make money anymore. Why would he be
Hmm.
selling?
Yeah. Yeah.
They put him back to 40 years ago. Why would you do that? Why not have grades of
Yeah.
the character evolving? Like I don't understand why they wouldn't allow that to happen. It just bugged me.
Yeah. And just like, again, like it's about choices, this character, right?
Yeah.
all of them are about choices, and like make him choose different setting, different, you
Yeah.
know. This is why like some of the, I enjoy the lawyering in like Daredevil because he has that job too. Like
Yeah.
they have jobs. So like it's entertaining sometimes to see them do their jobs apart from their superhero
Yeah, for
job
sure it is.
because it's a different perspective. Like how they are a superhero is completely different, or like a Bruce Wayne, like I'm a different person when I'm Bruce Wayne, or
Yeah.
am I just the same person, which is fine.
And there's lots they can
And
do as the character, go moves on to the next step of their thing. Moves on
yeah.
to the next step.
And I think that that's what people like, and that's what people, kind of relate to, that like I don't have powers, but like, oh, they use their powers, the essence of it in this way when
Yes.
they're being human and whatnot. That's what's nice about it. And um yeah, that's why we read, that's how we read. That's why
Yeah.
we still do this. That's why we still go to comic book shops
Yep.
and pick up an issue
I,
and
I have to go. Yeah,
browse
I
and
have I have stuff to pick up. I'm gonna go see Rob and Ash and go pick up my stash.
yeah, they're busy.
They're
They're
really
always
busy.
busy.
It's good. You know what? They run a good shop. They're
Hmm.
they're
They're
I
good
don't
with
know.
people.
They're really good with people. They're nice. I actually enjoy coming in. The atmosphere in there is always good.
That's what they said. Like, they don't really care if like you even buy anything because they have a genuine conversation with you.
Yeah, every
And
time.
you come out and like, I literally just like picked up this one issue which cost like, they barely made money out of me, but like I was
Yeah.
there for like half an hour just chit-chatting about nonsense, right? And like, you know, um, and they're totally fine with that.
Yep.
They're even fine if we just walk in and leave right away.
I know every time I go in, I'm like, oh, maybe we should get something else. Because I feel like personally, I'm like, did I just waste your time coming in here, like spending
Yes,
five
that's
bucks?
the feeling that I
And I'm
got.
like,
But
I
like,
feel like I gotta buy. They don't make you feel that way, but I feel
oh
like
yeah,
because
I
they're
feel
such
that
good
way because
guys.
yes, I feel like I got service. I want to pay you for talking to me,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
something like
Exactly
that.
it.
Yeah, they're so close to us that we're just like, we're gonna go for a walk. They're one of our stops all the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
and we're just like, oh, it's just like nice to look at.
If
It's
I
no
was in Saint
different than like,
Vital, I'd be there probably a lot more often.
sometimes we think about it and we're like, well, it's no different. Like, you enjoy going to chapters because I just like looking at the books
Yeah,
and whatever the
yeah.
things
I
that
spend hours in
shouldn't be.
Chapters or McNally.
Yeah, and I'm just browsing. I'm
Yeah.
just browsing, and it's the same thing I do there. And but it's just like you just get much better customer
Yes,
service.
much better. Yeah,
And
for sure.
they're good references, they're good people, and they just love the community. They're good. In summary, comic books
Yeah,
are good.
comic books are good. Go buy
Continue to read.
comics. Yes, there was a Metal Shop 5 coming. We started it, but it kind of went sideways.
Yeah. See,
Oh
I
boy.
was thinking when we watched that Fringe show, we were thinking like, oh man, like if you guys were here, it would have made sense for you and Alex to go there and then review that show.
Or the metal one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the metal
I know,
one with
that's what I was
the.
like. I was thinking that, yeah. Yeah, that's I don't know. That sounds really good.
I was so excited. A different topic, like uh M from Verbal Diorama. She like made like the Eternal Sunshine of the
Oh,
Spotless
yes.
Mind.
Yes.
It's like my favorite movie of all time.
Oh
And then I
yeah.
commented, and she like responds, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, I
like she
know.
does respond.
She does respond. She is I've always
Like
been
super
nervous to
nice.
ask her on our show. I've always wanted to ask her on our show. I'm just so nervous because she's so good at what she does.
Yeah. She'll be an interesting one, but like,
I know she'd just say
but
yes. I know she
yeah, I
would
think I think so. I think she'll just say yes.
because
But
she's
it's
just
just
so
like,
freaking nice.
yeah, but she's just like so established, and like, you're just like, you always like look at her as like you're a superstar.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, definitely podcast superstar.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is still one of my go-tos all the time. She's so good. She has a
Yeah.
new cat now, so that made me happy. But anyway, let's sign off
Yeah.
here and
Yeah.
We'll see y'all on the flip side.
Mhm.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. And bye. Have a good day.
Hey, gang. Sean Geek here.
And Fast Fret.
And we have 2 storefronts. If you are a TeePublic fan, you can browse our inventory over at TeePublic, which is teepublic.com/Sean Geek Podcast.
Or redbubble.com/people/Sean Geek Podcast.
You can get anything from either storefront, from t-shirts, stickers, phone cases, accessories of all kinds. We're talking masks, notebooks, mugs, pillows, totes, tapestries.
Oh my.
Oh my. Everything's there. Just go to those addresses. Also check the show notes and help support the show. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.